Bonjour les élèves. In these notes, we're going to look at verbs that are like the verb préférer and acheter. Now these verbs are regular ER verbs. So one more time, because ER verbs are so important, let's go through and review our ER verb endings. So remember, if our subject is je, our ending is going to be e. If our subject is tu, our ending is going to be s. If our ending is il or elle, nu, our ending is o and s. Oh, that's supposed to be an s. Vous, our ending is ez. And for il, elle, pluriel, and t. Okay, so let's take a look at some verbs that are slightly different. The verbs préférer and acheter have slight spelling changes in some of their forms. They still use the same ER verb endings, but it's their stems that have some changes. So pay attention here. So let's take a look at the verb préférer, which we have written down here. Préférer means to prefer. It's a cognate. It looks like it. But what happens with préférer is that in the infinitive, you can see there's two accents here, two accent aigus. In the forms that go with je, tu, il, elle, on, singular, and il and elle, plural, they actually have a spelling change. That second accent changes the direction. Let me show you what I mean here. So with the word je, if I want to say I prefer, I will still use the stem and the regular E ending, but the first accent is going to stay the same and the second accent is going to change directions. So we have one accent aigu and one accent grave, and it's pronounced je préfère. The tu form is exactly the same. Tu préfères. First accent is the aigu, second is a grave, so the second accent from the infinitive changes. Il, elle, on, to say he prefers or she prefers, is the same. First accent, just like the infinitive, the second accent changes to an accent grave. Now the nu and the vous form follow suit with the infinitive. So in the nu form, to say we prefer, nous préférons, we'll have two accent aigus. Same thing in the vous form. Vous préférez, two accent aigu, just like the infinitive. But the il and elle in plural form, that second accent changes to an accent grave. So it still takes the right ending, but the second accent changes from an aigu in the infinitive to a grave in that form. So this is why I call these Snoopy verbs. If you take a box, and some teachers you might actually call them a shoe verb. If you take your pen and you draw a box around the subjects and the verbs that are similar, that are different than the infinitive, and you add ears and an eye, un nez et une bouche. It kind of looks like Snoopy. Well, it kind of looks like a flat Snoopy here, but that's the idea. Snoopy verbs, in Snoopy verbs, the nu and the vous form look like the infinitive, but the je, tu, il, elle, on, il, elle, and on pluriel all have a stem change. And in these verbs, the stem change is that the second accent changes to a grave. There's a couple other verbs that follow that same suit. The verb espérer, which is to wish, and the verb répéter, which you already know, is to repeat. So with those verbs, that accent here will change to an accent grave in all the forms except for the nu and the vous form. Now, the verb acheter is also similar in that the verb acheter has a stem change that happens in all of the forms except for the nu and the vous form. So acheter is also what I would consider a Snoopy verb. Now, the verb acheter means to buy. It's a regular ER verb, so that means in all of these different forms, it's still going to take your regular ending. But what happens with the verb acheter, I'm going to switch colors here, is that there is an accent grave that is added in the E in the stem, with the E in the stem. So j'achète. Now, with j'achète, you would actually drop the E and put an apostrophe in its place. So to say I am buying, I would say j'achète, and I add that accent grave. Same thing in the tu form. I'll add the accent grave. Tu achètes. Il achète. Add the accent grave. But because it's a Snoopy verb in the new form, it's going to follow what the infinitive does. Nous achetons. Same thing with the vous form. Vous achetez. To say we are buying and you all are buying. But because it is a Snoopy verb, the il and the elle pluriel form are going to have that spelling change. We're going to add that accent grave. So if you wanted to, you could go through and put a box around all of these forms that have the accent added and sort of draw Snoopy's face. Add les oreilles, les yeux, le nez, et la bouche. Some verbs that also follow that pattern. We have amener, and amener is to bring something, and then emmener is also to bring, but it's to bring someone. So they have similar meanings, but not exactly the same. Lever is to stand up or get up, as we would say. And then promener is to take a walk. Kind of where our word promenade comes from. Oh, that's supposed to look like a W, to take a walk. Okay, so we just have to remember that those verbs, with these verbs, that E that we have in the infinitive, so here, 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 and here, an accent grave will be added to all of those forms that would be inside Snoopy's head. The je form, the tu form, the il and elle singular, and the il and elle plural. Okay, that does it for these stem changing ER verbs. Au revoir les élèves.